I still remember you. So that's
Hi,
the first
I'm
song I
Maya,
wrote, you know.
an
And so I
11-year
had a
old
lot of lyrics
musician
that I
from
wanted to
Japan.
a lot of
This time,
mothers
I
or
interviewed Mr.
parents
Jeb Roth,
forced
who
the
is an
kids to do
amazing
piano.
blues rock
So
guitarist from New
because everybody
Orleans.
told me, well, you're never
He
going to do
taught me what
it.
blues is and the
Some
history of
people
music.
say you can't do what you
In
want to
this
do, but
session,
you can
I
do it
learned
if you
that
work
blues
hard.
actually created many of my
Yeah, now they
favorite
can see me here in
genres.
Japan.
For example,
You were
R&B,
wrong.
which actually stands for rhythm and blues. Jeb will also talk about what groove
That
is
kind
for
of
him
rhythm. Second
and
line
how
rhythm.
he puts groove in
And
his
it comes
songs
out of
too.
the Mardi Gras parades and Mardi Gras.
If you enjoy this
And
video,
here now.
also please like and subscribe.
F E. Fantastic. Delta Blues.
Delta Blues.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Maya in Session, The Future Sounds. This is our guest today, Mr. Jebro.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, for starters, I'm just gonna briefly introduce you.
Fantastic.
So, this is Mr. Jebro. He is a blues rock guitar singer and he grew up in New Orleans, America. He started the piano at the age of 7, then moved to guitar at 10, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then he started to play at live stages and started to do music professionally at 17 and formed the Jeb Rolt band at 25. From then, he had built his music career. Now, for the first time, he is doing a Japan tour right now.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Beautiful country.
Thank you. As I said before, you started the piano at 7, right?
Yes, I did.
What was like, was it your passion or was, well, in Japan, a lot of mothers or parents force the kids to do piano.
That's so funny you'd say that. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
my mother forced me to do it, but she was definitely in on that decision.
Uh-huh.
So we lived right down from Loyola University in uptown New Orleans, and they had piano lessons for young people. And my mom said one day, "Hey, don't you think it would be a good idea if you went down there and played piano?" New Orleans is a very piano-oriented town. You know, I mean, you have Professor Longhair and Dr. John and Art Neville and so many Fats Domino is well known. These are all piano players. So I grew up with this piano sound. So I said, well, right, that would be great. Yeah, let me go down and take some piano lessons. And so I did.
And what kind of inspired you to play the guitar?
Well, what happened is I started to play piano and I liked it and I learned a lot about it. I learned a lot about the keyboard.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I didn't necessarily like the lessons so much.
Oh.
And so I was playing and learning, but I didn't really take to the lessons as much as I could have. And so I stopped the piano lessons after about 2 years or something, and I started just playing. We had a piano at the house, so I would play the piano at the house. The guitar came in a little bit later. My cousin Edward Conway, he's a great guitar player from New Orleans, and he was playing in a band at the time called Resonance. And he was so good on the electric guitar. I saw him at about 13 years old, about a little bit older than you are, and I loved it. I just thought it was so cool. This was a time where MTV was big. We would watch on the TV all of these rock bands, and my cousin played, and so I just really wanted to do that. And I asked my mother, "Hey, would you get me a guitar?" And she said, "Yeah." She actually had one.
Oh.
It was a beautiful Yamaha.
Oh.
And I don't know what happened to it, but because I don't have it and she doesn't have it, but it was a nice guitar, and so she let me borrow that one, and I started to take lessons.
Was it like a big
It
guitar
was a
or like
jumbo,
the
jumbo
oh.
acoustic, yeah.
Did you like it?
I
Was
loved
it
it.
big
It was
for
too
you?
big for me though,
Yeah.
but I loved it.
Oh.
I ended up getting a Yamaha.
Oh, another Yamaha.
Yeah, well, that one was yeah, it might have been a Yamaha. I can't remember, but yeah, another Yamaha, a little bit of a smaller one, and that became my guitar.
Oh, okay.
So
Do you still have it?
No.
Oh.
Somebody took it. This was a while back. I wish I did have that guitar. But I started taking lessons with Ellen Simon in uptown New Orleans, and she taught me chord progressions and melody. And those were the best two things to learn right off the bat.
So, I know you play the solo on the guitar and stuff.
Sure.
did you learn that like personally?
Yeah, I did. So I learned how to play rhythm guitar with Ellen Simon. But what happened for me is that I heard a band called Led Zeppelin. The guitar player's name is Jimmy Page.
Uh-huh.
And maybe you check him out sometime. I thought he was just fantastic, and I kind of fell in love with Led Zeppelin in the band at the time. I was about 15. Jimmy Page is a very, very, very good electric guitar player, acoustic guitar player, all different styles. And so I started to try and learn his stuff. And it took a long time. I learned it all wrong in the first place. My
Yeah.
ear wasn't that great,
Yeah,
There's a lot of half notes in that music. Have you heard of tablature?
No.
Okay, tablature is a way of reading music. It's not music notation.
Oh, tab?
Yeah, tabs.
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I started to then learn all the Led Zeppelin music and Deep Purple and Eric Clapton and all of these rock bands that I loved so much. I started to learn their stuff on tablature, so I started to get it right, And I kind of took to it and started to get gigs in New Orleans playing. And so we would play covers real early. This is like 1988,
Yeah.
89. So I would have been, 17, 18. And we were playing, Zeppelin covers and Deep Purple, and we were an opening band in the circuit of New Orleans at the time. And that's how I learned how to play lead.
Oh. So what kind of band was it?
Well, it was basically a cover band at the time. The name was Speakeasy.
Speakeasy.
Yeah, my first band. I formed it, and we would play clubs like Jimmy's Club, and we would play later on Tipitina's and Madigan's and a whole bunch of Carrollton Station, Muddy Waters, the old clubs of New Orleans. And so we were a cover band basically at that time. We were playing other people's music.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And we would do some New Orleans music too. And then we started to write music and we started putting in some of our own music into the band,
What was your first song?
My first song was about a freight train in New Orleans. Yeah, a train?
Fake?
Freight.
Fraked?
Freight. So it's a train that carries goods.
Oh.
Yeah. And New Orleans has a lot of train
Like
tracks.
containers?
Yeah, containers.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it was a song about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? What kind of song was
Would
it?
you like to hear it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll play you a little bit of it. So this is the first song I ever wrote. Well, now freight train keep on rolling down the track. I know pretty soon you will be back. Rolling across those houses and the streams, rolling down on and through the cream. But if you don't come back, well, if you don't come back, I'll still remember you. So that's like the first song I wrote, I'm sure I had a lot of lyrics that I've forgotten on that one. I never put that song out yet. Maybe I will.
You should.
Never recorded it yet.
You should.
Maybe I'll take your advice and do it.
So you naturally was singing too?
Yeah, I was, I like to sing, and I didn't really consider myself a singer at that point, but yeah, I would sing. But in Speakeasy, I did not sing. We had a singer,
Oh.
Noah
okay,
Rost, and he's still in New Orleans, I think. And so I considered myself a guitar player. That's what I wanted to be in life. At about 15, I decided I want to be a guitar player.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and everybody told me, well, you're never going to be able to do that. Some people say you can't do what you want to do, but you can do it if you work hard and you stick with it.
They might watch it.
Yeah, now they can see me here in Japan. Right?
Yeah, they might watch
You were wrong.
So, you grew up in New Orleans.
I did.
And as far as I researched, it's a city?
Yes, it's a city.
It's a city of music.
It is a city of
Right?
music, food, and dancing, and yeah.
What kind of music did it have?
Well, okay, so New Orleans, that's where jazz came from.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So it came out of the Scott Joplin type of music, ragtime.
Uh-huh.
And jazz, was formulated down there. Now, it's not the only place. Jazz kind of went other places too, like New York and also. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
saying it
yeah.
was only in New Orleans, but it really came out of New Orleans. Storyville was an area of New Orleans where it came out of. And then you had the blues.
Mm-hmm.
And the blues came out of, close to Yazoo, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
The Yazoo Delta, when they talk about Delta blues, it's the Yazoo River Delta, which is about 150 miles from New Orleans, I'm guessing. And so the blues quickly migrated from Mississippi to New Orleans. It also went to Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis. So New Orleans was very heavily jazz and blues, and then later on funk.
Oh.
Yeah, you know bands like the Meters
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
Art Neville and the Neville Brothers and Dr. John. They helped to create funk music in this world. You know.
So it had a lot of genres, right?
Yeah, a lot. And you also, when I was growing up, you also had heavy metal, and you had every type of music really was played. But I mean, when you're talking about New Orleans, you're talking about, you know, jazz and then blues and funk. Second line rhythms. Second line comes from Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So you know, like if you that kind of a rhythm, second line rhythm, and it comes out of the Mardi Gras parade, the Mardi Gras tradition, Mardi Gras Indians. There's a lot to it.
So there were a lot of genres, right?
A lot
And
of genres.
you're a blues rock guitarist.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself blues rock. I do put a lot of funk into it, you know, just
Yeah,
because it's part of my soul, part of where I came from.
So why did you choose blues?
Well, that's it's interesting. I mean, I guess I was immersed in blues as a young person. You know, your age, even younger. Blues was on the radio, and so we have Mardi Gras every year, right? So you have Mardi Gras music. You know, Mardi Gras music's like the second line music. You know, and it's a danceable style that came sort of out of blues and Dixieland jazz. You know, all of these different styles I was immersed in as a child. I didn't know I was in a place that was special, you know, but New Orleans really kind of is. And so blues kind of chose me.
Oh.
You know, I mean, in a way, I've heard that the blues is a good man feeling down, making himself feel better again. Want to learn a little blues?
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna do that in the E, okay? So so the blues pattern, it goes from E to A to B. All right. Now yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'll work. So it's sort of like this. So the beat would be like doom doom cha tick doom doom cha tick doom doom cha, right? Doom doom. So we start on the E, okay? Then we're gonna go to the A. Back to the E. To the B. A. E. 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 Right. Just keep that going. Now to the A. Back to the E. B. Right? A. E. And then you can go back to the B right here. E. You got it. B. A. End it here now. E. F. E. Fantastic. Delta Blues.
Delta blues.
Yeah.
1920.
20.
Yeah, 20s, right?
Let's say, yeah.
So in your house, did blues always like
On the radio.
there? Yeah, on
Yeah,
radio.
the radio, and also just in concerts. You know, in New Orleans, that's a lot of live concerts, a lot of live venues.
Of course, yeah.
Then you go out to Mardi Gras parades and you have live bands in the parades. They're usually high school bands, marching bands, but they play a lot of different, pretty interesting music. You'd have to go down there and hear it. You know, it's a lot of dancing music and a lot of good beats.
A lot of people dancing.
Oh yeah, and I mean all of that was just sort of part of me from growing up in that city.
Yeah,
You know? And I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a guitar player. And so that's just what I knew, you know. I mean, I had heard that stuff. And so when I was very young, I started to learn, oh, let's see what he's doing on this blues progression, you know, and try to learn it. And it
So-
took a while, you know, I'm still learning.
Was there like a lot of venues and music stages?
A lot of venues.
Do you know open mic?
Yes, and we have those
A
too.
lot?
Yes.
Oh,
And
that's
New
great.
Orleans has so many venues, and especially back when I was younger, there were hundreds of venues
Oh.
and open mics.
Uh-huh.
And if you wanted to get out into that city and play, you could do it.
That's great.
Yeah, New Orleans. I was very lucky to grow up in New Orleans as a musician and just as a person. It's a great culture. It's got a lot of different influences: French, African, Italian, Irish, everything. You name it. Vietnamese. We have every different type of person, and so all those cultures come together in that city,
Yeah.
and most of the time peacefully.